Yeah, the last time I was there, I did see something. And usually on investigations, it can be somewhat polluted. And obviously, with it being polluted, it can affect like the way that you perceive things, technology. For example, if you're doing EVP recordings and such. Like, but weirdly, in that whole cacophony, I saw something just outside of the dark. So everybody was on the other side of the room discussing something they had experienced, but I was wandering off on my own, as I tend to do anyway, on the side of the crypt where it's kind of close to where the entry point was, and like I don't know if it was east or west or whatever it was though, but either way, kind of tucked away at the back. Just behind the pillar, I saw a hand come out. It wasn't pure dark though, but it was very low light, so it had just enough light for me to see the outside edge of the column. And just beyond it, a hand reached out, and I know specifically it was a left hand, and it was a female-looking hand. It was very kind of almost gaunt as well. But yeah, I saw this little hand with some sort of robe-like material, and it was slightly see-through. And it was only for a second.
I'm just going to jump in there. It was weird you said that because we actually have evidence from that very pit. So there's a picture, and this picture creeped me out for days. To your story, similar to your what you witnessed with the hand going across, we actually had a full apparition, a face peering round the pillar.
Hello and welcome back to Paranormal Perspectives. My name is Stan, and back again for the second episode of 2026. And for what better of reason? I mean, having time with a good friend. Christine Stewart is with us tonight, who was with me on the very first episode of the podcast, and somebody who's inspired me over the years and has been a bit of a mentor, I think, and someone also who kind of nudged me to write my book, Paranormality, which is out soon as well, amazingly. So yeah, with us, Christine Stewart. So Christine Stewart is a wonderful medium and paranormal investigator. Also with us tonight, we have Liam Hamblin, who is also paranormal investigator, somebody who I met on a ghost tour of Oxford Castle about a couple of years ago, I think now, and was such a well-grounded guy, very relaxed, despite being quite a scary situation, I tend to find. So yeah, thank you both for being here tonight. We're going to have a kind of like a round table, fireside, campfire-like conversation, really, because each of us have had our own interesting paranormal experiences, and we are kind of maybe less fearful of exploring the unknown and have seen some amazing things. If it's okay to start with you, Christine, I know you do have a story that took place in Wales, so yeah, please do tell.
Yeah, I always laugh at this because of all the ghost hunts I've ever been on, I've never seen a ghost. I've experienced other things, but I've never actually seen a ghost. And the ghost I saw was, I'm not going to reveal the place because I'm sure they don't want to be inundated with ghost hunters. But it's a place in Wales. It's a scene historically where there was a lot of conflict between the English and the Welsh. And I was there with two friends, and we went out for a sort of like late evening walk. It was dark, and we were chatting, and we were walking through the park. All of a sudden, to the right of us, there was a big tree, and we all got kind of a funny feeling. And we looked over, and I swear to you, there was a pair of legs that were manifesting upwards. And when I say that, it was like you could actually see the detail on the boots. So they were like old-fashioned boots that come to the knees, and then had been turned over. Yeah. And it was getting more and more. Well, of course, three ladies, we just shrieked, and they ran off at great speed and left me to sort of trail after them. But it was the scariest thing I've ever witnessed. And it was a linen colour. We weren't drunk or on anything. We were just walking. We had perfect vision. It was a beautiful night, but this thing was materializing. And yeah, that was the ghost I saw. And it was solid. It was amazing. Looking back on it now, if I'd had the balls, I would have stood and watched what happened. But we all just screamed like a bunch of girls that we were, and off we went. So we missed it. But what we saw, we saw. We know we did. And if anybody tells me we didn't, well, they're wrong. So,
but that's fascinating because so you didn't maybe previously hear stories about the area. It's just something that almost happened randomly.
Yeah, I mean, there was not a ghost story associated with that particular place at all. Though I'm not surprised there is activity there, as I say, because historically there was a lot of angst, shall we say, and there was a lot of trouble historically. So I guess the energy and all of that said, but we didn't go out looking for a ghost. We weren't on a ghost hunt. We literally were having a beautiful evening walk, and it just happened spontaneously. And yet, all the ghost hunts I've ever been to, I've never actually seen anything. I've witnessed other things, but not actually there. So that's interesting. Spend all that money to go on a ghost hunt and never see anything. Walk through a park and you do.
That's fascinating. Hey, Christine, I just want to let you know, I can hear some background noise as well. I don't know if it's your cat or a machine, but I can hear him rumbling, so I'm assuming that's not a ghost.
No, that's not a ghost. That is my coffee machine cleaning itself now.
As everyone knows, maybe more friends close to you, that Christine absolutely loves coffee and can't live without it.
Yeah, and it's cleaning itself for the next round.
Brilliant.
It's testimony. You've got one there.
Absolutely. And, well, it kind of makes me think as well, like on the last investigation at Oxford Castle, which I think, Liam, you were part of, was it a year ago? I forget how long ago it was. It wasn't that long ago, but either way, when I was in the crypt, obviously underground, that place, it's weird. It's just a room full of these columns, and it used to be larger than that, I think, because they filled in some parts of the room. And I believe a long time ago, it's where they used to leave the dead in the prison when they passed down there to obviously be processed. Yeah, the last time I was there, I did see something. And usually on investigations, it can be somewhat polluted. And obviously with it being polluted, it can affect like the way that you perceive things, technology. For example, if you're doing EVP recordings and such. But weirdly, in that whole cacophony, I saw something just outside of the dark. So everybody was on the other side of the room discussing something they had experienced, but I was wandering off on my own, as I tend to do anyway, on the side of the crypt where it's kind of close to where the entry point was, and like, I don't know if it was east or west or whatever it was though, but either way, kind of tucked away at the back. Just behind the pillar, I saw a hand come out. It wasn't pure dark though, but it was very low light, so it had just enough light for me to see the outside edge of the column. And just beyond it, a hand reached out, and I know specifically it was a left hand. And it was a female-looking hand. It was very kind of almost gaunt as well. But yeah, I saw this little hand with some sort of robe-like material, and it was slightly see-through. And it was only for a second. Yeah, sorry, Liam, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm just going to jump in there. It was weird you said that, because we actually have evidence from that very pit. So there's a picture, and this picture creeped me out for days. Similar to your story, what you witnessed with the hand going across, we actually had a full apparition, a face peering round the pillar. I have that photo if you wanted it too. I can always send
please
it.
do. Okay, so it seems to align with what you saw. So when you say full-blown apparition, you're talking arms, legs and such?
Yeah, you can see the outline, but the main thing is you can see the face. The face is full. And I actually, when I look at that picture, it really does creep me out, because I didn't witness anything, I didn't hear anything behind me, but yet there's me standing there with something looking behind a pillar. And for me,
that's weird. That's kind of giving me the goosebumps. Yeah, Christine, go ahead.
Well, it's interesting you're talking about this, because where you're talking about, Stan, I had a most dreadful feeling when I was stood there. I didn't see anything down there, but it was by the entrance bit where you go in, yeah? And I stood there and I had it's that feeling of dread that goes through you. I thought, yeah, there's something here. Never saw anything else, but it's just interesting that you brought it up, and so you, Liam.
Right. I'm so glad you picked that up.
It is that angle though as well. It is towards the door.
Yeah.
So and one thing I also witnessed in that area too is the temperature changes.
Yes, massive.
Oh my gosh, it drops in there. It really drops. I saw my breath the last time I was in there.
If I remember correctly, Stan, myself and you, we were actually walking across the pit and going, oh, that's colder there. That's a colder spot. And at the back there as well, the very back wall, it was very, very cold. And I think as well there was a story, correct me if I'm wrong, was it about, it was like a storage as well? Monks stored?
I know this one, yeah. So I have a little story to add to that, if that's okay. On the last investigation, going a bit further back in time, which I think you also were there, but not there when I was in that group. When you go to the other side of the crypt. There's a corner. It's tucked right towards the back before the last pillar.
Yeah.
Every time I went there on the initial run through, I felt really uneasy because when I encounter things that are very strong, I don't know if you get this, Christine, but I get this pulling in my gut. It's like gravity pulls me right down. And every time I went by there, I kind of went by there again and again just to check if I got the same feeling, and walking away, going back, and I had the same thing. But with me doing that, of course, I didn't want that to happen, of course, because I don't know anything about the place. And I went back there one last time, and I started to go really wobbly, like my legs were kind of almost like I was drunk, basically. Like my legs were going a bit strange. I could feel myself almost getting drunk in my head a bit. And I don't tend to drink much myself, though, but I've been drunk once or twice in my life, so I know what it's like. But the weird thing is, as that happened, I kept getting these flashes of cheese in my head. I thought it was pretty strange because I do know a little bit about the history there, because I do know that, of course, as I mentioned, they stored people that have passed away in there because, of course, it's a cooler temperature. But I kept seeing wheels of cheese all along the side. And then I saw like a barrel in the corner. I thought, why are they storing drink and food here? And after I had that weird experience, as I walked away, I spoke to somebody who was running the investigation, and he was able to clarify that apparently there's a story to do with a monk, like a rebellious monk, who hid cheeses and I think he made his own rum, I believe, or mead in there next to the dead bodies, I believe. But apparently I had hid it to the back of the storage area, and was once found drunk. And that's when they discovered his scheme of making this mead and passing it to people, and obviously storing additional foods to sell. And isn't that weird? I was able to pick up on the feelings of being drunk. I saw cheese, which aligned, despite it being in a bit of an unusual place. Yeah, Christine?
I wouldn't say that it's weird, because you've got a psychic ability. That pull you talk about is your solar plexus, and it's activating because you're coming into a sphere of energy and you're picking it up. And what was happening was you started to download the images that were left in that area. So, actually that's a really great psychic experience for you. And the wobbleness, and that's how it is when, you're encountering the psychic forces that are there. Fabulous.
No, you're right.
I'd put that down as a big plus.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, definitely. And also to add to that, I know, Christine, I've said this to you before, so forgive me for repeating myself. But yeah, Liam, do you know in that same place, I actually did mention this in my book, a little section of it. Do you know I saw a table levitate in that room?
No,
do you remember the table tipping back in the day?
Yeah.
So this was literally my first time doing an investigation, so I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know what to expect. But the guys that were running it, bless them, decided, okay, let's try table tipping. And I saw it on Most Haunted years ago, and I've always thought it to be more of a showman's kind of thing. It can be easily faked. Again, that's my kind of negative. So I thought, okay, well, they've asked me to do this. Okay, I'd rather see it myself and test it myself. So I actually offered to carry the little table with me, and I checked it to see if there were any things on there that could cause it to maybe be easily moved or any form of trickery. And it just seemed like a normal little table. It was a bit weak as well, quite light. But yeah, just like a little, I would say like a coffee table kind of thing, but quite a small coffee table kind of thing. You can it's made of wood and you can open it up. But anyway, I brought it down to the crypt, and the crypt itself, for anyone that doesn't know, has it's cobbled ground in some section. Some section it's kind of like, I don't know what it is, like it's not quite soil, is it though? But it's like just stone and just bits and pieces there, so it's not exactly even ground. And what I thought was interesting was there was a light to the left of us, which is great because as the shadow was cast, you could see that the table was touching the floor, so you could more easily tell if it was moving. And I genuinely didn't think anything would work. Two ladies joined me, and I think a man joined me on the other side, and they said, okay, how this normally works is you put your hands on the table. I said, make sure that rather than putting your hands on top of the table, you do it upside down, so it's harder for you to put pressure. Still not impossible, though, but just harder. I know you, Liam, actually were on some of those sessions as well after, but this was my sort of first time. But yeah, it started rocking backwards, forwards, and I thought, okay, this is strange. And I thought maybe one of us might be faking it. Maybe one of us is pushing it. And I asked, I think one or two of them to lift their hands off one by one just to see if it kept the momentum. And it kept moving. And I thought, okay, it could be faked as well, because it could be, at the back of the mind, there are some motor functions that are almost autonomous. Like you're not aware that you're doing them. So it could be that. Okay, I thought, okay, I'll just try and see how things go. And yeah, they kept asking questions. I tried speaking out. I was a bit embarrassed because I didn't really know, what do you ask a ghost? Like, what's your favorite color? I don't really know. But either way, it rocked backwards, forwards, and it got suddenly very violent. It kind of jolted forward, jolted back, and no word of a lie, I saw the whole thing happen. It lifted up off the floor and rotated ever so slightly for about a second or two. And I actually saw the shadow separate from the leg of the table for just a moment, and then it just dropped. And I still can't explain that to the day because, well, not just simply the visual phenomena, it's the fact that the whole room suddenly got very rapidly cold. I could see the breath on each of us. That previously wasn't there, but of course it's at night, so that may be a factor there. But the fact is the temperature change happened so rapidly during that time, and it peaked at the point where the table was in motion in the air. And yeah, like I never will forget that. Like I still couldn't discount that it could be other things, but something about the whole experience felt very, very, well, paranormal. So yeah, so what do you think it was, guys? Anyway, like I don't know if you have an opinion of that.
I think, we do these things, and I think we have to take on board what we see is happening. We may have other explanations, and I think we have to take on board, okay, I saw something, I witnessed something. What is it? We were hunting the ancient ramen. Have you ever done that, Liam?
I have. I've got some good stories on there.
Well,
ooh, I'm curious.
You know the bar area?
Yeah.
They had, at the time when we went years ago, and they were like barrels, and they were using, we were using them as tables, and we started putting our hands out and all the rest of it. And now these were heavy, and yet the one we were on started to move. You actually felt the whole thing, and we took our hands off, and we got completely freaked out. We got a great picture of an orb with a face in it from there as well, Liam. I don't know what you've got from there, but it's definitely something there. When we left, all the lights were out. John, the guy that was running at the time, he was asleep, and sort of like we sort of went out, turned all the lights up, and when we turned around, we looked up and the lights were on again. Yeah, he was downstairs. There's something there. I think there's a lot of hype attached to it, but this barrel was moving, and we're like, whoa, can you feel that? And the energy was just like pulsating. So, what happened to you happened to you. I think people are too skeptical. It can't happen. Yes, it can. Yes, it can happen.
I've got really good experience with the table as well, but this is a different type of table. Instead of wood, it was glass.
All right.
And for this story, I'll take you down to Cornwall to a place called David Stowe Airfield. Now, normally during the day, it's a museum where people can go and look at the aircraft hang up in the air hangar. So it's a very, very big space. And we went as part of a private investigation on this massive site. So there was about 5 of us. So no contamination, nothing at all. We went into the very large aircraft hangar, and in the middle, there was a glass table. And we were calling out, nothing was happening. And then all of a sudden, similar to yourself, Stan, the temperature of the room just changed. It was cold in there anyway, but it just dropped. And the energy around started just to increase. There was knocks coming all the way around us, and we were like surrounded. And there was no way to get out. There was just the one door, and that was it. When we were asking questions, the glass table started to move, but started to spin in one direction. And I never told any of my teammates that I was going to do this, because I wanted to confirm no one was pushing it. So randomly, I just shouted, "Stop." And the table stopped completely still. But my teammates didn't know I was going to do that, but it was just straight away stopped. And we asked questions like, "Where are you?" And when we asked that question, "Where are you?" the table started to move across the room. And it had wheels. So it could easily move across the room, yes. But it was also spinning at the same time as it was moving across the room. It was then able to show us a doorway that was restricted, and the table kept pushing itself into that doorway as if to say, I'm here, I'm here. And that was, to me, that was the best table tipping experience.
That's fascinating. Did it reveal a doorway that you wasn't aware was there, you mean, or it just went towards an area that was restricted?
So keep in mind it's pitch black and we just had our torches on the table.
Right.
And so, yes, it went to this doorway we didn't know was there until we shone our torches up and went,
oh, I see.
There's a doorway there. And
interesting.
I think as well, a member of the group, she was able to connect with this spirit, and it seemed to be a spirit that did not want to be there, wanted to leave. And when we said to the spirit, do you want to leave? The table moved across to the exit, the only place we could get out. And it just kept pushing against the exit, back, forth, rocking. And for us, that was it. We moved the table back, but the activity in the hangar got too intense. There was bangings coming all the way around us, and we just had to remove ourselves.
Yeah, weird question, but what was the air like before that happened? Because sometimes people have kind of atmosphere shifts.
Good. I would say, like I said, it was colder temperature, maybe a bit thinner. You know, the air was a bit thinner.
Right.
Yeah. It's a cold environment anyway, so.
Do you ever get actual sparks happening around when you're doing stuff? Anything like that, like little pinpricks of light? Do you get that? Or hear crackling, like static?
I haven't personally seen the flattered lights, but yes, I've heard, you hear this like crackling kind of, almost like footsteps. Is that?
It's more like, it's like background. It's nothing that you can, it's just a change that there's some sort of static, like energy building. It's just that I've noticed that happen on ghost hunts, and I wondered if anybody else had.
I tend to, you tend to feel electricity in the air.
That's what
when I do, I get like burning on my skin kind of thing. So when I was doing the table tipping at various points, actually it's more so the upstairs actually. When I was with Liam actually, we were walking past the cell that used to belong to the infamous Black Panther in Oxford. He was a kind of famous criminal at the time, and he actually had to have his own cell, like, custom made to keep him in because he was so good at escaping. Maybe it's because he was a panther. Maybe not literally, but either way, like walking through that section, like I felt my skin burning. Like something was building and building and building, and it tends to kind of focus on, you know, the other end of Oxford Castle where there's like a round room. I don't know what room that is though. There's like a round room towards the end where it's kind of slightly dipped in the middle.
Yeah.
And whenever I go there, that's when I get the most burning. I can feel like there's something in there, and it's like just lurching and leering over and just watching. So yeah, I know when things are building up, and usually when I feel that, usually something happens, whether it will be a noise, an object moves, or I've seen worse than that anyway. The things that tend to walk by. So yeah, I tend to know that's my spider sense. Or it's more of a hurty sense, if anything. it does sting a bit. So yeah. So maybe it might literally be electricity passing. It could be like a surge of electricity. It is literally electricity passing through your skin. Could just be like an overload of that anyway that comes with an entity approaching, whatever it might be.
It's just something I've noticed a couple of times. It's like it's very subtle, but it's like something's happening, and it's just a feeling, or it's just a knowing, and then sometimes you get knocks, and so I wonder if it's a power that's growing, or it's just that some people are able to tap into it. I don't know.
When I've been on investigations, I've had shivers down my back, and I'm not a person who normally gets that quite a lot. But when a couple of investigations, I've been sat there, and suddenly you just have the shiver down your back. Maybe that's kind of like the energy, I'm just feeling the energy in a different way.
Yeah.
Well, the body's an antenna, isn't it? So it's going to, you don't have to be, psychic in any way or form. It's just the body's ultimately an antenna. I've had discussions about consciousness before, and ultimately our body being a receiver of energy. And anyway, to be a receiver, you have to be an antenna. You have to receive it from somewhere. So our body's already, maybe having transmissions of consciousness directly delivered to us. You could see it that way. And then with that being said, we're also receiving other information that's around us, and also other influence of energies that are around us. So it's not implausible to say that we could be just receiving that additional level of something through our body, because we are energy ultimately.
I've actually been pushed back out of the. That was again, it wasn't a ghost hunt. It was at West Kennet, Long Barrow, near Silbury Hill. And my friend and I went in about 5:30 in the morning. And as I stepped in, it was like somebody pushed me back out. And it was like, whoa. And of course, I'd forgotten to ask, the spirits if it was okay to go in. But it was, I could feel it. And he said, what's the matter? I said, it's like somebody just pushed me out. Yeah. Some people are more sensitive to different energies. Do you think, though, that we can? There's a particular house that everybody talks about that they ghost hunted. My problem with that is all the energy that the people that are taking there as well. So I know it's like you get a bit excited, you go on a ghost hunt, it's all going to happen. But if you've got people continuously being there, do you think that could actually sort of mask the real phenomena that's going on?
I get that. It's kind of like, in a way, it's psychic pollution, because you think if there are active entities in a place that are there doing their thing, there's also the ghosts of things that have happened before. So repeated old energies being released, over time. But also with people in the present time, or I suppose at this point in time, also entering, you kind of, everywhere you go, you leave a bit of yourself anyway, like energy, Hopefully the guys aren't littering, as they're going about these places. But either way, you kind of leave energy litter as well, like you're polluting a place. So I do think that it does affect the way we experience these environments. So, just from my experiences, like I had a great time my first investigation. It wasn't as busy as my second. But I found I think the second one, there were much more people were there. And it was great seeing lots of people there, because we all kind of felt a bit safer. At the same time, because everybody was kind of working in their own groups with different recording equipment, I couldn't focus myself. I do have issues with attention anyway, but I couldn't just open my signals to receive and understand what was going on. So yeah, I would say it's better if you can go to a place that's visited less often in a smaller group to maybe take in a place more accurately. But then again, at the same time, if you go to a place that maybe isn't as active in terms of like foot traffic, the living, that is, it may be a place that's unsafe too. So obviously, if you do that, obviously be careful, just check your environment and everything. But yeah, I think it's fair to say that we do pollute and we do affect. And yeah, so I don't think I'll be going back to Oxford for a while, I think, until maybe it's a bit quieter.
I was up in Derbyshire, Hardwick Hall, I think it's called. It's sort of ruined now. Most Haunted did it years ago. And we were there one night, and just walking around the place is spooky. We got the EVP meters out and things like that. And all of a sudden, 2 carloads of people rock up, and they're getting, obviously they've got all their equipment and all the rest of it. But it's I wonder if I think I'm more serious about it. I'd rather go somewhere where there's nobody else, so that you can because when other people start bringing their equipment as well, and also their voices and their energy, we left because it kind of, we don't have the monopoly on these places, do we? But when you rock up, and it's okay if you're going in a group, but if you've gone out on a limb to do something, then 3 or 4 other people rock up, the cars, the lights, all of that, and so I wonder if sometimes it gets a little bit polluted, as you say. That's a good way of putting it, actually.
I think it's like people's energy as well. Being in the public eye with these ghost hunts, I see lots of different people come in, and maybe it's their first ghost hunt, but they could be quite negative about it. And I think that really brings down the energy in the room. And I think, one thing I like to do, if there's like a big group, is to try and build that energy up with laughter. Because what I've witnessed is when people are laughing or singing, or they're really coming out their shells, the energy around just starts to build.
Yeah, absolutely. It will do. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I would see James Van Prague. He's a American medium, and he started his whole den by singing, and it was lovely.
Yeah.
It was just got some music on, and it was just lovely, and everybody's chilled, and we had a great den. And I think you're dead right. All that, because it's all good energy, isn't it? If somebody's coming in there a little bit negative, they will bring it down. Have you ever been to a ghost hunt where it's been totally negative? I mean,
I
and they're really kind of like, let's go home. Nothing's happening.
I have. I've been in a group, and it's been quite a big group of about 10 people, and 2 people have brought down the energy because they're messing around, and that seems to contaminate everybody else as well.
Yeah, I agree.
And then we stop listening out for signs and all that, and start focusing on their behavior. That's the time I've had a really, really bad night, and we didn't get much because of that energy shift.
Yeah, so it is really a matter of picking your group, really, because I was taught by a friend of mine, ultimately you bring the energy with you. So do not go into a place that is suspected to have very high levels of activity if you're going in there in a bad mood. Because in a way, sometimes skeptics are the most dangerous people to bring on these things. I know they don't believe, but if you lower the vibration, you attract the attention of things that maybe don't want to be with you. So going in there singing, laughing, going to attract the energy of a lot better things in there. And as well as that, you're giving out energy that they can use for themselves. It's almost like a nice, happy trade, really. You're helping each other. Because there was, I think I remember the first investigation I went on, again, Oxford Castle, because I haven't been on as many as I think you, Liam, or Christine, in fact. But of the 3 that I've been on, do you remember one specifically? Essentially, we had a whole kind of kaleidoscope of people with different backgrounds. So I remember there was like a group of mediums in there, and obviously that's where I met you, Christine, in person for the first time. That was such a nice night. There are people there who are kind of professional investigators as well, like all their equipment and all these interesting bleeping objects and different things. And there's some people there who are kind of thrill seekers, are just there to have a fun night, and that's fine, that's fair play. I remember specifically there were 2 people that were there. They seemed to be like away from everybody else, and it's kind of like they were closed off, like they didn't want to talk to anybody. And I remember them, and I thought, okay, do they feel a bit shy? Is it a bit, because it can be a bit overwhelming, because I don't like it when it gets busy in places. I get a bit nervous. But I thought, okay, so I made an effort to say hello to them, and they just didn't want to talk. And I thought, okay, that's fine, you don't have to. I just wanted to know that they're okay, basically, because that's the kind of person I am, really. So yeah, we started the investigation, and I think we started it in the midsection where the prison cells are, and that's the fascinating hallway, because there's like a gallows at the end. And yeah, and I remember that some of the mediums were talking about the things that they were sensing, and some of the guys were there, the investigators, like with their objects, saying, okay, I think we've caught something. And these 2 people were sat at the back, not observing anything, not learning anything, just grumbling. You could hear them grumbling very loudly. This is rubbish. This is this. From the get-go. It's not as if they gave it, say, even 5 minutes to go, okay, this isn't for us. Straight away, they were doing that. And I thought, that's odd. Like, why would you pay to be here, come out this late at night just to do that? And I don't know if they had just like, an intention to do that. But I noticed that with them grumbling, like things were happening, and they weren't nice things. I think one person said they got scratched by something, and we heard like some like low-line kind of grumbles as well. And initially it didn't feel very good for my first investigation. Like the first hour anyway, it felt like something quite not nice was building. And yeah, they just kept grumbling and just saying silly things. So every time someone said, oh, I've heard something, what is that? They'll be making fun of them. I actually heard it audibly as well. It just really annoyed me. I think, well, if you're going to spoil the party, don't come. Like, what are you doing here? So I think eventually they left after 2 hours. And after then, like, everything got better. Like, we did have lots of activity that night, but it was much happier. And I know it's a prison. It's horrible to say it's a happier place, but the things that happened there didn't feel dangerous. Like we got in contact with this spirit of this little girl that was there, and I think this person that had passed in one of the cells further along, and we had some really interesting experiences. So I suppose what leads me on to the next part of the conversation really is like, what on earth are skeptics about? Because I've met a few skeptics in my time, and some of them are really great conversationalists. Like they'll put forward some questions, and ultimately it's on the basis of, okay, I haven't seen X, Y, and Z. it's hard for you to present to me this information that I haven't witnessed. So I find it really hard to believe that. And I get that side of the conversation. But there are some people that call themselves skeptics who aren't really skeptics. I don't really know what word I can give to them, but they're people that simply don't like the idea that anybody can experience the paranormal. And they seem to go out of their way to stop people from talking about it. And it's really strange because I had experiences not so long ago where, I mean, I don't tend to talk a lot about, my paranormal experiences in my social group because, they're not interested. And that's fine. Obviously, I have a podcast for that anyway. But when I started to talk about my experiences, I think briefly on my social thing, just like to family members, and I thought we were a few friends, and I simply said, okay, well, I've realized recently I'm a medium, and I get very nervous talking about it because I don't like the stigma associated with that, but I'm trusting you with saying that. And straight away, someone that I had known for years, I'd respected them a lot, actually. They were really really talented person. Straight away went from being friend to enemy. He sent me this horrible message out of the blue saying, you better not be conning people. Because for some reason he thought, because if you're a medium, then it's something. Some people don't seem to understand that you can be a medium or you can become a medium, if that makes sense. You must do it as an activity or something to help people. A medium also is something that you are. Just like you could be a man, woman, or whatever else you identify as. It's just a person. It's just part of you. But yeah, this person went from 0 to 100 and just sent over these horrible messages. And I thought, do you really think it's okay? But they seem to do it as well with absolute, I suppose, entitlement, really, that they can say awful things like it's their right to do that and instigate it and have no consequences. So, I mean, obviously my response to that is just cut and shut, see ya. It's just better to do that. There's no point in just answering back with any sort of a reasonable answer, really, because there is no reasonable answer. So to me, sometimes it seems like it's a very personal thing, either it makes them afraid, or maybe it causes them to question maybe their belief system or whatever it might be. And I do see those kind of people as fear people. Hence why I see it as a lower vibration thing. Hence why it's dangerous to bring them to places like that sometimes. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have had similar experiences, though, and I'd love to know your thoughts on that.
Well, quite recently, somebody told me I was working with the devil. I haven't heard that for such a long time. But
never met him.
Yeah, quite recently, in the last 3 months, they had said something. I really can't stand them spiritualists and those mediums. I says, well, hold my beer.
Or coffee.
Or coffee, okay. And I says, before you go any further, I says, I'm a medium and I believe totally in life after death. And I speak to dead people. And she went, you're working with the devil. I went, stop there. The devil don't exist. It's an invention by, religion. And then she said, but you seem to be a caring person. Your animals are well looked after and all the rest of it. I said, yeah, I'm not doing bad considering the devil sat on my back. I think it comes from a place of fear. She had her own set of beliefs, which, are totally against what I believe. But I think it's a thing of fear because there's been so much down the years that associates life after death, ghosts and all that as being something dark and horrendous. And I mean, even now, people seem to want the dark when in actual fact, it's a mixture of everything. It's light and dark. And you get good and bad spirits and meddlesome spirits and just the same as you get here, but it's not from the devil. And I just think it's a bit, really, it's a bit. I had somebody the other day say something religious. I just shut off when it comes to religion. But unfortunately, they can be, when you are so strong in your own beliefs or your own knowledge, they see that as, something to push back against. You don't need to do that. They don't need to do that. Just accept that's who I am or who you are. But yeah, I think it's a fear thing. I think it's all the years of, it's the occult, watch your back. And I mean, I've got black cats here, careful guys, all of that kind of stuff. And I think it comes down, Jen. And then, of course, we do have, and it's prolific at the moment, is people who make out they're mediums and they're not, and they rip people off. And I'm not talking about anybody that I know personally, but I went on top and was absolutely appalled at what passes on there for psychic ability, and they're ripping people off. Now, you can understand why people get, because they're getting the wrong picture. They're not seeing the full picture. That's just my take on it. I don't know what you take on that, Liam.
Yeah, so I'm not a medium, so I've got like a different perspective from this. So when I've told people about a ghost hunt and stuff, it's been received quite well. Maybe more in a laughing approach, like, "Oh, you ghost hunt? Do you ever catch anything?" kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's been quite positive from that standstill. And I agree as well that you have the negative side and the positive side. And one of the positive experiences I've had is when my granddad passed. Now, he always said when he was alive, he said if he could, he would come back and visit me. And I've always, when he passed, one of the things I was stressed about and most worried about was money, because how we were going to still keep this lifestyle without him, how would things go on? And when I went to bed that night, I had a very vivid dream, and it was of my granddad walking me through the house and showing me everything, and just saying, "Don't worry about the money," and finally ending with a big hug. So for me, that was an amazing experience, a positive experience, and something that hasn't happened since. So I don't get that anymore. And I felt like after that experience, he had gone. So I suppose, yeah, for me, positive, negative.
I love that story, and I wish I'd had that to put in my book. And unfortunately, my book is written now. But anyway, what you experienced was a visitation, wasn't a dream, right? It was a visitation. I bet you it was as clear as day, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was,
It was
yeah.
like he was there because he was there. And this is the way that the spirit will connect with us. And my research has shown, and this is what my book is about, is that period after bereavement when people experience stuff. And high proportion of people get what I call visitation. They're not dreams. And he made you feel better. He gave you a hug, and the world didn't fall apart, did it, after all? All that worry that you. So there you've got your grandfather who absolutely adores you in spirit, and he knows it. His grandson here is worried. What would you do as a grandparent? You try your level best to get back and go, "Look, mate, it's going to be all right. Give us a big hug. I've got to go now," because that's all they do. They've just moved on, and I think it's a wonderful story, and you share that with millions of people because so many people have these visitation dreams, and spirit that I've always encountered through stories has always had a very, very positive impact on people. Thanks for sharing that, Liam. I just wish I'd got that for my book now. See,
You will have other books to write, I'm sure,
I am
and
actually writing
that's
at the moment. Yeah, I am actually writing at the moment, but not about that. So
yeah, well, Liam, I think you brought tears to my eye anyway. I relate to that so much. And that's so beautiful because I mean, if, families tend to have this special connection, and like whether it's just through our genes or just shared life experience, we tend to find a way to support each other, whether we're in body or not, really, or in one place or another. And it still reminds me of my most recent, beautiful experience when my grandmother, who I absolutely adored, she was like the only really kind member of that side of my family, quite frankly. She was so special. She went downhill very quickly a little while ago, and she basically had I don't know if it was classed as a stroke or like something to do with her head anyway, but basically like her body just very quickly shut down and she was in a coma. And I went to sit by her and just talk to her, and just it was, as you can imagine, for anybody it's quite a hard experience to go through, really. But my sister was there and we just talked to her and talked to her about everything that we could. And it got to a point where like a few days went past and I could feel that she was really straining, like, "I've got to be here. I can't go yet," because she likes to protect people. She wants to make sure everybody's okay. And I don't know what happened, but I think she was in that state for a good couple of weeks, 2.5 weeks actually. And as you can imagine, someone in that state is not very nice because you're neither alive nor dead, really. But I could feel that her spirit was leaving. But yeah, I went on this really long walk one evening where I felt really frustrated for her. Like, I kept feeling like, okay, I don't want you to go, but you need to go now. And I just had this long conversation with her, and whether it was just psychologically me trying to cope, or I could actually hear her voice with me. I was walking for a good hour, and at one point, I remember her saying to me, look, Kieran, obviously I was still going by Kieran then anyway, though. So yeah, look, Kieran, you need to stop, go back home now. It's dark. I said, what are you talking about? And I looked, and obviously the sun had already set by that point. I was actually walking through the dark in the freezing cold, but I was so zoned out trying to talk to her and help her. But anyway, I went to bed that night, and we didn't have any sign of when she would be passing. We just, it could be another month or so. We just don't really know. But yeah, I went to bed that night, and me and my sister had a very similar dream. And I think my dream was I was visiting my grandmother in the park we used to play in, and it was ultra hyper realistic, but it was in fog. And I remember walking through the fog to where we used to play, thinking, why am I back here again? We used to play here when we were kids, and I saw my grandmother there. She was sat on the swing. It's like she turned it up and realized it was me, and she came walking towards me. And she said to me in this dream, I don't know where I am. I don't know where to go, what to do. And I said to her, it's okay. I said, you know deep down in your heart where to go and what to do. I remember having this really long conversation with her, and I don't know if you have dreams like that, Liam or Christine. Like, it feels like you've talked to them for hours, but as you wake up, you can't remember barely anything you said, but you feel that conversation has already happened deep inside, but can't record it in a way. But yeah, and at the same time, I think that night, my sister had a dream where I think she was visiting her in the hospital, combing her hair, because my grandmother looked after her appearance. She, really looked after herself, and my sister was there just combing her hair, looking after her, making sure she, looked as good as she did when she was fully living. And the weird thing is, my sister woke up in the night because she felt somebody combing her hair, right through her hair. And as she woke up, she sat up in bed, and she could still feel someone's hand going through her hair and like that. And yeah, I try not to cry at the moment, sorry. But yeah, when it happened, it was obviously so visceral. She shot out of bed, but she wasn't scared. She felt like, I know now. And at the same time, after that dream that I had with her in the park, I woke up, I knew. So eventually, we fell asleep because it was obviously the middle of the night. And yeah, we got a phone call about 7 o'clock in the morning, and she'd passed. And that was it. She's gone. Knowing her in the way she used to be in life, she used to always just look after people. Like, she used to always be there to help. She used to walk from Botley to Oxford, like even in her 70s, picking up litter at the side of the roads, like having a good chat with people. And she's the kind of person, she always looked after people. And this was the first time where I could actually help her. So I felt like because I had that conversation with her and had that dream, I was able to help her on to her next thing. So yeah, so like family members have this kind of special connection. Sometimes it's just, I don't know what it is, but yeah, sometimes we can help them. You don't have to be a medium to help them as well. Like just having a good chat with them and helping them to remember who they really are and where they need to go sometimes can help them on. Yeah, but you could put that down to simply, okay, a traumatic situation. Your brain is trying to cope with this trauma that's happening, and trying to almost materialize a story that happened to coincidentally coincide with, linked dream. And then she happened to die at that time. You could say it's that, but there are so many coincidences that happen during that time. It can't just simply be random. Again, say to a skeptic, who doesn't believe that, I completely get they're not believing it, but you have to live it. And that's where we have the 3 points really, because I don't know if you guys watch Uncanny. I always say a team skeptic, team believer. Danny's forgotten the third state. Like no disrespect to Danny anyway, but remember the third state. So believer and experiencers are both the same because they both act on belief. I don't believe, I do believe. They're acting upon a lack of knowledge, and that's okay. That's nothing wrong with that. The third state is experiencer. The experiencer has no choice which way they choose to believe because they've experienced something. They may question as to what that might mean though, but either way they have empirical data. For example, like I saw that hand. I literally saw it there. It wasn't a hallucination. I do know that. But because I've experienced it though, I don't have a choice whether to believe or not believe. It is, if that makes sense. So yeah, I mean, I try and trust my my instincts when it comes to things like that. But again, always open to interpretation.
I think there's a lot going on around death. I think we can't see it. What you what is interesting, what you said, Stan, I believe before we cross over, in the case of your nan, we're in and out, we're in and out, we're in and out.
Yeah.
Excuse my call. Yeah, there's a lot going on that we don't understand.
So, also continuing your story about your nan, Stan, it is really interesting because that conversation you had with her, not however you experienced it, I feel was a way of you letting go and you saying, I give you now permission to go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think also that's what we need from our loved ones, because when our loved ones are going, they don't want to go. We have to give them permission. We have to say, look, we're ready. We're ready for that. And I actually had a similar experience with yourself. On my granddad's passing, he was in hospital for a very, very long time, and his photo actually fell down. And I'd always told him he couldn't go until I told him he could go. And I kissed his photo, and I said, you can go now. And within 10 seconds, the phone rang, and he had passed. So I can back up your point with that.
Gosh, that's incredible. And it's such a sweet way, because what did you feel when you went to kiss his photo? Like, did something come into your mind? Was it like a pull or something? Like, do you feel like you were influenced by something that maybe wasn't you?
I think the act of the photo falling, so the photo was on the floor, and I just felt, I didn't feel sad. I was just neutral. I'd already come to terms it was going to happen.
Yes.
And it was just accepting that and saying out loud, you can go now. And that took relief off me. And maybe somewhere, that connection may have gone back to him, and he's like, yes, I can leave now. Everything is fine.
Oh, bless. I think I just have a feeling you have a very caring family. I don't know. I just get that impression that obviously you are quite fond of them naturally, though. But yeah, it seemed to be like a closer family, it seems.
Very close. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really special. So yeah, and you can see telling those experiences, because you've lived through it, Liam, and you've lived through yours, Christine, and you have to be there to understand. It's like, I've said to someone the other day, like, what is it like experiencing, the unknown? Like, what we define as the paranormal, but it's not really that abnormal, is it? Really, it's more normal than we think. But what is it like experiencing it, though? And I said to someone else, it's like falling in love in a way. It's like when you know, and that's the people can talk about it and theorize and show that there are different beliefs for and against certain things before they've experienced certain things. But once you've crossed that threshold, then it makes sense.
Do you think, though, it's not meant for everybody to believe it? Like you said just now, once you've experienced something, you can't unexperience it. What you make of that thing is entirely up to you, and some people get frightened by it. But I just think that there are some people who, whatever you say, will push against it. That can't be real. That can't be real, because they haven't experienced it themselves. So I've never experienced Australia, right?
So some people think Australia is fake. They think it's all like it's an act. It's not a real country. Everybody there's an actor.
I think open-minded skepticism is brilliant, because we ask questions through doing that, and we learn through that. But there's an awful lot of cynicism around, especially on the internet. Oh, well, that's fake. It's AI. And that's true. All of that's out there now. And that's where I'm going with my new book. I'm looking at physical phenomena from years ago that was produced by people that didn't have access to AI, didn't have access. I'm talking particularly about Leslie Flynn. He could be sat in a room and he would get messages coming through. Not through his mouth, in the corner of the room. He had to be there. There was something about him. How do we, now you can do amazing things with technology. We don't know what we're looking at, whether it's real or not. So I wonder if that cynicism and that anger comes from the general thing about people are so cynical nowadays.
Yeah, because it's made accessible to the layman, and I hate the term layman because I find it kind of insulting though, but I mean that in a kind of way as somebody who's not skilled in a certain, obviously image making, for example. With the advent of AI recently, it means that people with less skill and experience using certain software are able to more easily edit and create entirely new things with, very little effort. And I get that side of things. Luckily, I'm a graphic designer by trade, so I can tell straight away when it's AI, even though the best AI is very obviously fake. But not everybody's like that. But either way, the cynicism towards the paranormal has been going on for hundreds of years before we even had AI. Because even think about the days when the spiritualist movement of, correct me if I'm wrong, Christian, because I think you're more of an expert than me. That is it, like the 1920s to 30s. There's a time when people really got really into the seances. And at the time, it was very popular that people would actually edit photos of people, essentially ectoplasm. Basically, they were projecting these things from their body, and then there was faces in there and stuff. It was actually just superimposed, double exposed imagery.
It's really dreadful. When you say some
but
of
back
them,
then they didn't know, did they?
Liam's smiling there, so I know that he's seen some of them. But oh my goodness. I saw one of this supposed ascended master that was supposed to come through. And, it was obviously a person dressed up, and you had a full beard from here and hair from there, so you couldn't see who he was. It was dreadful. And you get other ones that looks like some kids painted a picture on it. And those kind of things come down through history because they were absolute fakes. And then you get this whole fear thing. At one time, believing in kind of things that we believed in, it's quite dangerous, But First World War, we had some brilliant mediums, and they've been forgotten because they produced some phenomenal stuff. Leslie Flint was later, obviously, because he was in the 60s and things. I never got to see him, sadly, or witness what he did. But I've heard some of his recordings. Luckily, they recorded things. How nowadays people will say, "Oh, well, you can do it with technology." The technology to do it then wasn't available then to do it. I wondered why we don't have those kind of mediums anymore. And I think the answer I sort of got to is nobody believed you because they were so phenomenal. Some of the stuff that they could produce, there's no explanation for it. And yeah, I take on board the fakery, especially with the photographs. They were dreadful, absolutely dreadful.
But there was a time when it was actually considered to be fun because we had Paul Weatherhead a few episodes ago where he talked about the phenomena back in the day where people actually used to get together and less so as a believer kind of thing, more of just a group activity. Used to go out at Christmas to hunt ghosts and New Year. It used to just be like a festive activity, like more jovial and let's find the spook, and a strange activity maybe nowadays to be seen as like a joke kind of thing. But there were times when it would be less of a belief thing, but more of it's socially acceptable at this time to do it. Let's all join in. I think it's interesting how it's changed over the years.
Well, there was a bit craze in Paris, I think it was. I want to go back to 18 summer, sorry about the dates, or very, very early 19 something. But people would go to the salon and they would do tables. They never thought of it as being anything other than what you say. Again, a bit of fun. How were they doing it? And of course, what was happening was people that run these salons were adjusting the furniture so that it moved. So again, you get that thing that people are interfering. But that should negate the very genuine phenomena that is still inexplicable now. I am fascinating.
Yeah, and it's up to people to be open to their own experiences because ultimately it's up to you to control your curriculum, I suppose, in life. So you can choose to never discover these kind of things, and that's okay. You can choose to delve into the unknown and learn more about it, and that's fine. Ultimately, it's your life. You decide what to do with the information you acquire and how you acquire it. That's part of our individual journeys, and I get that completely. But I've been more humbled. I've met some really nice skeptics recently. I've had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Kieran O'Keefe recently. I just took part in this little parapsychology course, and obviously I'm not anybody important at all, though. But it was just like a quick session of like, hey, I want to ask a few mediums what they've experienced, what they theorize, and his students are really, really sweet. And I kind of went in there thinking, okay, just please don't, just let's be nice and kind and even though. But I went in there thinking, okay, I want to trust these people because I've had experiences recently where they've just not been particularly smart about it or nice, despite not really knowing about my side of life. But though these people were really nice. They asked some great questions, and it just inspired me that this guy that I used to watch on TV, Most Haunted, all these years ago, and I know he's on Uncanny now, and he's touted as being this skeptic though, but it seems like it's more pushed in that direction as not an act though, but just to increase the different poles of opinion, if that makes sense. So one person's more into the belief of the paranormal, one person is like the polar opposite, just for more TV show essentially. But he seems to be a very kind of open-minded person, very much a grounded skeptic, but with an interest in it and respect for it. So I mean, fair play to him and his students there. They were amazing. So yeah, I mean, I do believe that it's possible for people to intelligently discuss what the paranormal is, whether you think it could be a psychological phenomena or natural, the form of our biology, basically how we perceive and pick up certain information and whatever it might be. But I'm very much of the belief that eventually the paranormal, as we describe it now, will be normal. Just the same as where, I've said many times before, and I know they're going to send you guys to sleep because I said it so many times, is a long time ago, people used to think the creation of fire was only for the gods.
Yeah.
Yet now we have cigarettes, we have the combustion engine, we can create light in our rooms. A long time ago that was seen as magic. So magic is only the what's the expression I heard the other day? A blanket to put around the unknown. Ultimately, that's what the paranormal is. Someone also said also in reference to religion, that religion is the blanket we put around the void in our understanding, ultimately, to give it shape. That's the same. Yeah, I think I said it exactly that. I think it's said maybe a bit better than that though. But that's the idea. Ultimately, religion, also the word paranormal, is to give shape to something that we can't fully understand just yet, and make it maybe a bit less scary. And it's not always that bad, I suppose. But yeah, but that's why we go on these investigations. It's just okay. Let's see if we can experience something together that's shared multiple people.
I think also the paranormal, like ghost hunting, has evolved. Now, if you go on a ghost hunt now, people will bring out lots of pieces of equipment, and I'll open this to the floor, but I don't necessarily feel that's the right way we should be going for ghost hunting. Because yes, there's all these equipments coming out here and there, but you can't trust. At the end of the day, someone's built that. You can't say, I have full trust in that.
Yeah.
And what I've witnessed is all this technology we're bringing to these events may be producing false positives. And I always say the good old fashioned EVP, a simple recording device, record it and see if you get a voice. Listen, when you listen back, see if you get a voice or any communication on there. I just think, what's your thoughts? Because
can I say straight away, we're singing off the same hymn sheet here, because I agree with you. If you're introducing something that somebody else has made, it's got to have flaws. It will have a flaw somewhere. Nothing is perfect. You're bringing that in, and false positives you mentioned. Yeah, I would absolutely. You're the first person I've heard actually that said that. People rely on this stuff. REM pods and all of that kind of stuff. I don't know. Now, the EVPs, I didn't used to rate them much until we got a really clear one once. And now I do rate them. And I think I'm with you. I'd rather sit there and look, And don't forget, these instruments are giving out their own source of energy as well, aren't they? How is that affecting the energy around it? I think years ago they did I mean, you guys are probably far too young to remember. They did an investigation. Was it a Borley rectory? And you hear something going past him, and he says, and it's a very famous one. I know it's going to be out there. I'm sure it's Borley rectory. But I was like, whoa, that's dead spooky, And it was just a guy sitting on a pew or sitting on a hard chair, and he was aware that there was something there, and he managed to capture it on a normal. Remember the little tape recorders?
Yeah.
Do we need all this stuff? No, but it's making somebody lots of money, isn't it?
But the benefit of the equipment is at least it's transferable evidence, even though it may not be entirely accurate because you don't know how it's being made. I completely get that, and I think that's a fair point. But you think about us mediums, for example, we may hear things, we may see things, but it's just in our mind. We don't have a direct mind-to-mind interface to show you guys what we can see and what we can't see. But at least with these machines, yes, you could question as to how valid the input is. It could be EVP, photography, catch things on videos, whatever it might be. But either way, you're still catching something that you can review with somebody else to get a further, maybe additional opinion.
But with mediumship, the way to prove that you've got connection is by bringing forth evidence that you couldn't possibly have known about. This is where, if somebody's skeptical and maybe come to for a reading, you say, "Oh, you had a dog called Blue," and they go, "No, never did," and they go away and they're over. And then somebody says, "Can you remember Granddad had a dog called Blue?" That medium could have known that. That's good evidence because it hadn't come up the sitter's mind because the sitter didn't know about it. So with mediumship, it has to be the evidence that you bring forward that's got to be good.
Yes, got it.
So it's another proof. Sorry, Liam.
There's been a time that when I've used a piece of equipment and it has given me a very good response. So this is on location down at Westbury Pool, and there's a very top of the building in the attic, and we had an Alice box. Now, an Alice box is a disconnected device, doesn't have Bluetooth or anything. It's got batteries in it, and inside its memory, it has a word bank. I would say I'm not say 2,000 words. No one fact checked me, and I was with a group, and we all spoke out. And what we said to the spirits is, "My name's Liam," and we went around the group, and there was a chap called Tim, and he asked a question, and on the box it said "not alive," and then said his name, Tim. And this was about 2 minutes after we had asked if it could say our names, and we actually forgot about it. And I suppose that's the time when I've kind of gone, yeah, technology does work, it does have its perks. But for me solely, when I go on a ghost hunt, I think less technology, the better. You need to be able to experience it.
Yeah, I think that offers at least a purer interpretation of events. Also, it's just more fun. It's more of a human grounded experience if you're just there just to connect with it all. And that's when you tend to get these more purer, happier experiences, at least I think so anyway. But yeah, it makes me think of, talk about false positives. I mentioned this to Christine a little while ago about the fact that, I think one investigation I did a little while ago, and I don't think you were there, Liam, anyway. I get a bit windy when I get a bit nervous on these investigations. Remember them setting up some EVP recording devices, and I sort of went off on my own just to relieve myself, let's just say, in the politest way. Yeah, I very stupidly kind of went to an area which I didn't realize actually they had hidden a mic in that area. They then started saying a few minutes later that, "Oh gosh, there's this really weird sound on the audio. What's going on?" And I thought, yeah, that sounds really weird. I said, it sounds like a voice, doesn't it, though? And I just realized it was me. So they're all there discussing, "Oh, is it this? Is it that?" And I had to say to them, "I was really sorry. I don't want to waste your time." But I think I didn't say the whole group, and it was just too embarrassing. So I'm really sorry that was me. Okay, yeah, don't worry about it. It happens sometimes.
I'm glad
just
you
so
admitted
stupid.
it.
But so yeah, I mean, sometimes you do have to account for obviously different variables. Obviously, human nature. Quite frankly, we all fart. It happens. But it's just like we could also subconsciously make noises as well as we're waiting for things. Maybe for anticipating. Or trying to take in a certain environment that you may accidentally make noises with your mouth, your boots. It could be where you're stood. There's so many different variables in these environments that you need to take into account. But again, like I always say, I always fall back to the whole when when you feel something that is just not natural. At least when I say not natural, is it not natural within a defined world that's presented to us as all of this is really natural though, but it feels like outside of what our everyday is. It's still quite an amazing experience as well. Like not many people get to have these experiences in life really. So we are really quite lucky. But yeah, I mean, we're sometimes quite unlucky. And I've told this story on my podcast a few times about this entity that followed me home. And I've literally seen these things, this thing that followed me back from the hospital, this old gnarly, dark man made of smoke. It kind of looks like it's sort of like dematerialized and rematerializing this entity. But yeah, this thing followed me around at my childhood home for quite a few years. And yeah, like sometimes these things aren't very nice. Yeah. And that's a whole other story really though. But yeah, like I've seen some things that aren't particularly welcoming. But yeah, thankfully I've been able to fight them off and send them on their way really. But thankfully, nothing really on a investigation yet. But I do know, like, Penny, who we've had on an earlier episodes, she's been on numerous investigations, been to some pretty, scary places, and she sees stuff that even scares her, despite her experiences. Like, at the end of the day, it seems like mediums are just as normal people. They get scared, they get overwhelmed. Sometimes they just want to be left alone. And she's been hassled by spirits on the toilet, for example. Like, she says, I just want some time to myself. Oh, can you just tell me, my son there's, can you tell me that? Sometimes they just, sometimes they do present problems. But either way, like, I don't know, I would love the world to just be just a bit more respectful in terms of being educated on these experiences, whether, they need to know more about what mediums are, what paranormal investigators do, and the challenges they have. And it seems to be too socially acceptable nowadays to laugh about these kind of things and stunt the growth of your own understanding. Because, I went on a learning binge a few years ago when I was trying to accept what I had experienced in the paranormal. I studied all sorts of different things. I read different philosophy books, and I didn't read loads and loads though, but I read a good few books to get an understanding of people's different interpretations of what life is and the way the human brain works. About I read science. I recommend anyone reads Stephen Hawking's Brief History of Time. It's an amazing book, well worth the time to get an understanding of how people perceive the material world, as in this world. As Madonna says, we are living in a material world. But during that time, I spent some time trying to understand what Buddhism is. Obviously, it's more of a philosophy than a religion. Just trying to understand other religions like Hinduism, Sikhism. I still didn't know enough about that just yet, but I touched on that there, which I found was interesting. Also, atheism as well. Like, atheism isn't a belief system. It's more of a denial of gods of all different sorts. But either way, I bothered to learn. I bothered to go, okay, I don't understand that. I maybe don't believe in these kind of things, but I just want to know. That's what we do as investigators and, mediums or whatever it might be. We're just delving into this unknown area and outlining and mapping this part of life. And it's all just, to me, just a scientific progression, really. So, I realize we're going over time a bit, though, but is there anything else that you guys wanted to kind of go through, really, tonight, or anything else that maybe a closing message, really, if you want to leave with our audience?
Yeah. I would say if you're a skeptic, go out on these ghost hunts, go and experience it, but have an open mind and bring a positive attitude to it and just enjoy it.
I think it's well said. It's your attitude that is the filter, really, to your exposure of reality, really. Yeah, I mean, the more skeptics, the merrier, really, because it's more people giving an opportunity to learn, to share experiences with others. So I would like more skeptics on this show, to be fair. Haven't really inspired any to join us just yet. But they do know it's a safe space as well. We can learn from each other. That's the whole point. But yeah, Christine, would you like to leave a closing message?
Yeah.
Any words of wisdom?
We can't die. Not for the life of us, we can't die. I think ghost hunters are people that want to know, and we're usually not a bunch of grunts, as people sometimes believe. We're intelligent people that really want to know what's out there. So I'm with Liam on this. Expect nothing. Go, have a good night, and above all, enjoy it. And if you experience something, it's yours. You experienced it. Don't let anybody tell you didn't experience it, because you did. So enjoy it. Have a great one.
Absolutely. It's all just inspires kindness through all this, really. The more knowledgeable we get about each other and the world, the kinder we find ourselves being. At least I believe so anyway. So I used to be quite religious growing up, and I had quite a closed mind about the world, and I was taught to believe that those who weren't in our clique, so to speak, weren't welcome, weren't good or decent people. I learned that wasn't true. There was lots of lovely people out there that I've met of all different beliefs and backgrounds, and my mind is forever opened, and I've become a much kinder person through those experiences. Hence why I go on these investigations. You meet people of all different kinds of that's a bit of interest, really. Like I say, you get mediums there, you get a group of skeptics, you get investigators, you get thrill seekers, you get people who seem to be like they're on a hen night, but you're not entirely sure why they're there, but they're just having a good laugh. But that's fine, if that's their digs.
I've actually done a hen night ghost hunt,
Did you?
Yeah, and it was actually the
hen hunt.
Yeah, it was. It was ancient man we travelled all the way down, had a fantastic meal, and then went on this ghost hunt. And it was for a girls' head night, which, I mean, we had a brilliant time. You know, we laughed and all the rest of it. But were we taking it seriously at that point? I wouldn't say we were. No, we were there for the giggle. But we did get some good orbs.
I just love the idea of, going on a hen party and just like going ghost hunting. That's a great idea.
Yeah, it was something different, wasn't it? She didn't want the conventional, girl thing. She wanted to do the ghost hunt, and it's good. So
that's the problem about organising parties with ghost hunters, is because they always ghost you. I'd have done on that one, so that's terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, thank you both for being here tonight. Anyway, I think I've just killed one or two of your brain cells there. Anyway, but it means the world that you're both here, and obviously you two both very special people. I think I've really enjoyed our meetings over the last few years for all sorts of different reasons. So yeah, thank you both for being here tonight.
And good to
you guys take care.
Choice, sharing dreams and blowing off steam. We'll lend you a hand, we'll let you stand, sharing stories about the unknown. Paranormal perspectives, we're here to inspect it. I'm a small, not a medium. Let us escape from this tedium, learning from each other, breaking barriers, a message of hope, birthed from the unknown. Who you gonna call? I'm not a ghostbuster, no proton packs, just crossing streams of knowledge. It's not so scary when things get hairy. It's not the paranormal, just future normal. Breaking barriers, no longer the carrier, releasing the fear and replacing it with knowledge. Understanding each other, we uncover a whole new point of view within you. Paranormal perspectives, we're here to inspect it. I'm a small, not a medium. Let us escape from this tedium, learning from each other, breaking barriers, a message of hope, birthed from the unknown. The only stream we need to cross is the platforms to get the message across. Knowing each other, sister to brother. No ghost or spirit or demon will ever get the better of this medium. Paranormal perspectives, we're here to inspect it. I'm a small, not a medium. Let us escape from this tedium, learning from each other, breaking barriers, a message of hope, birthed from the